Well, we'll get going and let other people come on in. We're still on Brentwood time. We can't help it. Pandemic, nothing can slow down Brentwood time. So that's good, yeah. Hey, a couple of announcements for you this morning. First is Blue Haven. Hopefully you've heard about that. This still says session to June 13th through 25th. And while that is true, it also is not true. So middle school, your week is June 13th through the 19th. And high school, it's the 20th through the 26th. Yeah. And so you have separate weeks, middle school and high school, so that'll make it fun. But it means road trip time. It means time that you can ride to camp with your friends and have a great time. We get to do camp, which is really, really great. And so we need to be up in the mountains. We need to go and do that together. So if you didn't sign up, you can go ahead and sign up. But camp should be awesome. Also, our theme for this summer is Restart. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. And we have t-shirts that you can buy. I need to cut that off pretty soon. So maybe let's make, you got a week. Let's say you've got a week? What day is it? June 2nd, May 2nd. What? I don't even know. Time is just a myth right now. So let's do Wednesday as the last day that you can order a shirt. They look great. They're going to be fun. So make sure you grab one of those. And 3 weeks from today, which is May 23rd, we've got Jackson and Genevieve coming. And so hooray, that'll be their first day with us. They are going to be such fun interns. And so, yeah, you know Genevieve pretty well. Some of you know Jackson from BCS. But anybody that's willing to wear that outfit and sit on their car, I'm a fan of. All right? Hey, Jackson. He's a fun guy. Yeah, makes me think of mushrooms. All right, come on in, best boys. So we got that going on. Make sure that you welcome them here in 3 weeks. That means that most of you are wrapping up school in like 3 weeks. How great is that? You have made it through a year of pandemic school. And for that, you are blessed, right? To do that and to do it as well as you've done it, hooray for you. Great job. 3 more weeks, finish it out strong. And yeah, we're going to have some great stuff happening this summer too that I will tell you about hopefully on Wednesday. So come to First Wednesday this week. Our seniors are going to lead that. I don't see any of them here right now, but they're going to lead that, and so it'll be good to hear from them. We'll be in the auditorium, so we can all fit comfortably in there. So First Wednesday, 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Yeah. Everybody awake and alive? Okay, cool. Let's play a couple games. This first one is Would You Rather Extreme Edition. We played this on stream a while back. Ha. So here's what you're going to do. There's going to be 2 options on the screen. If you think that option number 1 is better, you're going to stand up. If you think option number 2 is better, you're going to stay sitting down. If you don't care, I'm just going to assume you go with option 2 every time, all right? But we're going to need you to chime in and tell us why it would be better, all right? So we don't need the instructions. Number 1, have no elbows. Would you rather have no elbows or have no knees? Can I talk? If you'd rather have no elbows, stand up. If you'd rather have no knees, stay sitting down. Everybody says Mia, yes. Okay, Mia, why would you rather have no elbows? Because my elbows. Okay. Mia says because your knees are important. Yeah, okay. But somebody that says I would rather have no knees, why? Why, Jack?
You can still walk without a joint.
You could still walk without a joint?
Yeah. You can walk out.
Like this? Yeah, but what if you wanted to sit down? Oh.
Use your arms.
Bummer. Use your arms? I don't know. If you don't have elbows, then you can't do this right here. That means no eating, friends. And that's a problem for some people. All right? Next one. Let's see. Would you rather go to prison for a year or eat a dog? Wow, these are terrible. Number 1 is prison. Stand up if you think that one's right. Number 2 is sit down. If you would rather eat a dog, stay sitting. Yeah. Okay, KB, tell me, why would you rather go to prison for a year?
Because I love dogs, especially my dog, and I would never want to eat.
Okay, well, it doesn't say eat your dog, so...
I love all the dogs that I've met, so I would want to.
All the dogs you've ever met. That is a big statement, and I'm proud of you for that. Lucy, what do you think?
Because like eating a dog is gross.
Eating a dog is gross. Okay, so let's go with your brother. Britton, what do you think? Why eat a dog?
I don't really want to waste a year of my life in prison. Rather eat a dog.
Okay, you didn't want to waste a year. Landon, what do you think? Why would you rather eat a dog? Or no, go to prison. Sorry. Skip school. All right, you're out of that. All right, so have a seat. Yeah, I would. If as long as it's not my dog, I'd eat the dog. Right? That's like 10 minutes of terror for and changing that out for a year. Right? All right. If you would rather have fingers that shoot spaghetti, stand up, or if you'd rather have feet that turn into skates, sit down. Stay sitting. Okay. Why do you think, Tuck? Why would you rather have fingers that shoot spaghetti? Unlimited food. Boom. That's like Jesus feeding the 5,000, but with spaghetti, right? You just shoot it out there for everybody. Yeah, spaghetti for every meal. How tired would you get of it? What do you think, Kason?
Less walking.
Less walking for having feet that turn into skates. Yes. Do you get to control both of those? That would be my question. Because if you don't get to control them, you're talking to somebody like, hey, nice to meet you. You know, like spaghetti flies out at them. That could be interesting. That could be fun. All right, let's go to the next one. Would you rather live in a world without ice cream, if so, stand up, or live in a world without bacon, stay sitting? Yeah. Whoa. No, there's not neither. This is would you rather. So nobody Landon, thank you. Why would you rather live in a world without ice cream?
I don't eat ice cream that much.
Okay. And bacon is everything, right? Okay, so all of you that said you'd rather live in a world without bacon, somebody tell me why. So, Layton, tell me. You what? Say that again?
I don't like bacon.
Say that louder for the people in the back.
I don't like bacon.
You don't like bacon. I have questions for y'all later. Okay, Jack.
Like eggs, so breakfast or dinner day is like a lot of work.
What do you think, Jack?
Ice cream just has more sugar in it, therefore it tastes better.
But it's bacon.
But it's ice cream.
Bacon's pretty good.
But ice cream,
I'd rather have ice
It's ice cream.
not all flavors of ice cream are equal, are they?
cream. No.
Pistachio ice cream, you're telling me that's a good choice?
Have you tried it?
I don't know if I have or not. I picked something that I was like sure that most people would be like, meh. Yeah. But bacon is just what you could put bacon on anything, yeah? What do you think?
You could live in a world without ice cream because you still have gelato.
Okay.
So you just have gelato.
All right. Gelato, does that count as ice cream? I'm not sure. All right, next one. Would you rather get paid $1 million to have the word idiot tattooed on your forehead, or be a movie star that makes no money at all? So really you're choosing money or fame, right? Is what you're choosing. So if you'd rather get paid $1 million to have idiot tattooed on your forehead, stand up. Or if you'd rather be a movie star that makes no money at all. Oh, wow. Okay. Everybody's like, no. Okay, but it's not this big, right? I mean, it's got to be big enough that people can read it.
I'm trying to grow my
I just
hair
cover it.
Grow your hair out, cover it. Laser removal with the $1 million. How much does that cost? Is that what we're doing? Andrew, what do you think?
I wear a hat all the time, so.
Wear a hat all the time. All right, so you're covering it up. Who's it? Jack, tell me, would you'd rather be a movie star that makes no money at all? Why? Okay, you can use your fame to make money other ways. Yes, social media influencer. What are you going to do? All right, everybody sit down. Let's do, how many more we got? We got a bunch more, right? 5. Okay, let's do 2 more. Pick 2 of your favorites there, David. How fast can you read? Would you rather have a private jet but no cars, or have 10 cars of your choice? So if you'd rather have a private jet but no cars, stand up. Mia, thank you. All right. Hold on, just before we do, Tucker, tell us why you'd rather have 10 cars of your choice.
I just pick the most expensive car I could find, sell a couple of them, and then buy a jet.
A couple of cars and buy a jet? Bro, how much are those cars going to cost?
Hey, he said I'm taking my choice. There's a
I guess. Mia, what do you think?
Because I could have other people drive me around and then I could fly wherever I want.
Yeah. No, I think too that like, yeah, you just Uber it, right? But you could rent that private jet out while you're not using it and make tons of money.
And buy.
And then you can buy all the cars you want to buy.
I think either way.
Yeah.
Either way. What's the most expensive car in the world?
I have no idea. They get really good.
What do you think?
I think it's a Bugatti.
A Bugatti maybe? Lambos? What do you think, Alex? First ever made Ferrari?
Half $10 million.
$5 million. So you get 10 of those? It's $50 million. Can you buy a plane for $50 million? Anybody? You buy it? Somebody do the math, figure that out. Can somebody Google that? We need to know this. This is important stuff. Yeah, Tuck.
I'm pretty sure there was a one-of-a-kind Bugatti made called the Levante that sold on auction for like 10 million.
Okay. But there's one of those.
Well,
One
you
of
can
those.
buy one and one.
So say you found 10 $10 million cars. What kind of plane can you get for $100 million? Decent? Pretty good? I'm guessing? I don't know. I still think the jet's the way to go. Mia, we're both correct. High five. Okay, one more, David. Give us one more. Would you rather have tarantulas that live in your house, stand up if that's the case, or would you rather have clowns for neighbors, stay in your seat? Does anybody choose? Okay, there we go. Now we know who's afraid of clowns, everybody. Okay, Andrew, tell us why you'd rather have tarantulas in your house.
Well, they don't bite. They're weird, but clowns are.
What do you think, Tim? Same vein?
No, clowns are objectively terrifying and tarantulas can't hurt you.
Clowns are fun, right? No? I never saw it. Sorry, y'all. Okay, somebody else. Clowns for neighbors. Why would you rather have that? Somebody. Jack, yeah?
My cousin's going to be
Say what?
My cousin's going to be a clown. So.
Okay, so you're kind of partial to the clowns. Alex, what do you think?
Because I hate spiders.
Because you hate spiders. Listen, here's the deal. Spiders, I have the advantage, right? I have the advantage. But to know that thing is in my house and that could crawl on top of me, I would choose clowns for neighbors every day.
No, it's not just one though.
Because you know why? They stay next door.
Yeah.
They stay next door.
They're not-
You know how I keep them out of my house? Click. And I lock the door. I am sorry for my friends who are afraid of clowns. It's okay. We love you. The Lord loves you. It's good. All right. So that is Would You Rather Extreme Edition. Should we do one more?
Yeah.
Let's do one more. David, give us another one. Break us off something good. Would you rather have spider legs from the waist down, if so, stand up, or lobster claws from the elbows down? Sit down if you'd rather have lobster claws. Okay. All right. Some interesting stuff here. Okay. Spider legs from the waist down. Luke, tell us why, man.
Because I use my arms a lot, and I
Okay.
really want to claw something.
Okay. I use my arms a lot. That was his logic. All right. Bri, what do you think?
If you can run faster.
Okay, that's a good theory, right? Is anybody else on that train? No, a couple of people. Ben, what do you think, man? Why would you rather have spider legs from the waist down?
Dude, I can climb up walls with spider legs. So.
Oh, okay. So like Spider-Man powers. Okay, let's go to the other side. Lobster claws,
Are we
Kason.
saying that it's 8 spider legs? Or just your 2 human legs?
Oh, I think we're talking 8 spider legs. Is that what we're on? Is that where we're at? Oh, changes things. Not just. That would be really weird if you had like just like the hairy weird spider legs, like 2 of them. If you had 8, I mean, at least you'd look like. What do you call that? Okay, so if you have like what do you call those? Like a Pegasus, but not that, but the centaur. Yeah. Thank you. Centaur. Like, what would you call if you were half? Like the top half is human and the bottom half is spider.
Arachnoman.
Arachnoman
Or woman.
or woman.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. Somebody tell me why lobster claws. Why lobster claws? Matt, why lobster claws, man?
I don't know.
Nat, what do you think?
You can just get them removed and get like those
Prosthetic.
Prosthetic arms? Yeah, but
I'd rather have
can you
prosthetic
how good are they at doing this? You know, like pick up food, eat.
You cut 'em off.
Yeah. I mean,
If you ever get hungry, you boil your arms.
Yeah.
It'd be delicious.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt. Yeah, that'd be good. Just cut it off, throw it in the pot.
Do they grow back?
You gotta do one at a time though.
You grow back.
Okay, if you could do that, that would be really interesting. That might sway me, but I'm with all you spider leg people. I think I would go.
One at a time though. You still gotta.
Yeah, that's right. So you would have to do one, eat it, wait for it to grow back, then, yeah, okay. Yeah. This conversation took a turn. All right, everybody have a seat. Thank you for playing Would You Rather. We're going to do one more game, and it's called Theme Thinker. So I think we did something similar to this on Wednesday, Sunday. I don't remember. We did this game on stream a while back, but none of you watched the stream, so it's cool. A couple of you did. No, I'm just messing. I had so much fun doing that, but I have more fun doing this, just for the record, so you know. All right, so there's going to be these clues. You're going to guess the theme. It's super easy. Look at the 3 words and decide what it is that brings them together. Give us one. Balloon, tire, lung, mattress.
Air.
Air. Things you fill with air. Yes. You guys are good. Okay. Glacier, slug, lineup,
Slug.
turtle. Huh?
Slow.
Slow.
Moving slow.
Yeah.
Slow moving. Yep. Lineup. Lineup moving slowly?
You're waiting in line.
Oh, line
Scary.
up. How about this one? Roller coaster, airplane, elevator, yo-yo. What? Up and down, somebody said? Things that go up and down. Nice. Yes. All right. Bug bite, insulation, allergies, dry skin.
Itchy.
Itchy. That is correct. Man, I had to, yeah. Okay. Scarf, blanket, hat, mittens.
Winter clothes.
I think, things to help you get warm. Yeah. What, have we gotten it yet, David?
No, it's things you knit.
Things you knit. Oh. It also could be things that make you warm. Could it not?
Here's my favorite one though.
Okay. Toilet paper, coins, tape, and wallpaper.
Paper. Roll. You gotta get it in a
Coins are not made of paper.
You get it in a roll.
Things you buy in a roll. There you go. All right, next one. These are easy. Fossils, potatoes, treasure, and worms. Underground. Things that are tasty, did somebody say? I love those fossils.
We got words.
Say what?
You got really close. It is things you bury.
Things you dig up. Okay, so very close. Things you dig up. We only have a couple more. Hot tub, soda, fish tank, bath.
Things you fill with water.
No.
Things that bubble.
Things that bubble, Brenton. That's it. That is it. Things with bubbles. Flying cars, space travel, teleportation, and Android. Future?
Things in the future.
Things that are futuristic. Don't we have, go back to that. Do we have anything, we don't have flying car. I mean, I guess there are prototypes. So we have space travel-ish. Thanks, Elon. Teleportation, no. Androids, do you count people with the green bubbles on their phone, right? Do we have any Android users? No. So we got, that's not the same Android, is it?
Probably not.
David's my green bubble friend. Drives me crazy. All right, here we go. Next one. Shoes, hands, eyes, socks.
Things you put on your feet.
Did somebody say things you put on your feet? Because if so, I've got some questions. Things you put on your feet. No, that's not right. You heard it? Things that come in pairs. Nice job. Who was that? Somebody back here? No? Okay. Are there any more?
One more.
One more. All right. Pizza, tacos, burgers, fruit.
It's not food.
Not food.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it is food.
That's not the answer.
Things that what? Fast food? Fruit is not fast food, is it? Fruit you have to like wash and cut and all that
You
stuff.
don't have to wash fruit unless it's been shipped.
I think this is controversial.
I guess you don't have to wash bananas, right? You just, it has its own wrapper built in. Yeah.
I don't
Or
agree with
oranges.
you.
Build your own.
The answer is
Things you eat with your hands. Wah wah. All right, sorry about the last one there. That was a bummer. All right, so we're going to say scripture together. If you will stand, let's say this together, and then we will sing together this morning. Always a good thing for us to remember these words. So say them with me. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others. Let's sing together. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. morning. Great is thy faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in him. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in him. Therefore I will hope in him. Let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich. Let the blind say, I can see. It's what the Lord has done in me. Hosanna, Hosanna, to the Lamb that was slain. Hosanna, Hosanna. Jesus died and rose again. Into the river I will wade. There my sins are washed away. From the heavens mercy stream of the Savior's love for me. Hosanna, Hosanna, to the Lamb that was slain. Hosanna, Hosanna, Jesus died and rose again. I will rise from waters deep into the saving arms of God. I will sing salvation songs. Jesus Christ has set me free. Hosanna, Hosanna, to the Lamb that was slain. Hosanna, Hosanna, Jesus died and rose again. Salvation belongs to our God, who sits upon the throne. And unto the Lamb be praise and glory, wisdom and thanks, honor and power and strength be to our God forever and ever. Be to our God forever and ever. Be to our God forever and ever. Amen. And we, the redeemed, shall be strong in purpose and unity, declaring aloud praise and glory, wisdom and thanks, honor and power and strength be to our God forever and ever. Be to our God forever and ever. Be to our God forever and ever. Amen. Be to our God forever and ever. Be to our God forever and ever. Be to our God forever and ever. Amen. Have a seat if you would, please. Well, we've been talking over the last few weeks since we've been back together about the book of Daniel, so go ahead and flip over there if you would like. Book of Daniel will be in chapter 4 this morning. If you didn't grab your Bible, go grab it. It's page 1003. 1003? Yeah, that's right. Somebody tell me kind of what the main idea that we've been talking about has been so far. Choices. Thank you, Tucker. Yes, choices. It keeps coming up week after week, this idea of choices. And the first week we looked at this choice that Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego have to make. This choice about whether or not they will eat the king's food or they will eat the food that God has called them to. And it's a difficult choice, and it's one that it seems like it's a small thing, but it ends up having big ramifications, right? And so we talked about that and how those little choices that we make over and over again, those seem to have some really big impact. Then a couple weeks ago, we talked about Daniel interpreting dreams and how he interprets the king's dream, but he tells him the dream first. And really, he gives God the credit for those things. And what a wonderful example. And then last week, we talked about the fiery furnace, right? This idea that they believe and trust in God, that their choice is to not bow down to the idol. This is a life and death type of choice, literally. And we aren't really faced with those very often, but we have the opportunity to trust in God, whether the outcome is what we want it to be or not. As Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, they said, you can tell us to do that and our God will save us, but even if he doesn't matter. We are going to be faithful to God. All right? So this morning, as we look at Daniel chapter 4, we're going to see a really odd dream. All right? And so think for just a minute, what is a weird dream you've had? Now, I'd ask you to share, but sometimes the dreams we have, our brains aren't in control, are they? They just kind of go wherever. So maybe you've had weird dreams. Has anybody ever had the dream where you're falling? And then you hit the bed and it like wakes you up? Yes? Okay. I used to have that dream all the time when I was a little kid. There was a mall in Tulsa, Woodland Hills Mall. I think we actually go there on the trip when we go to Tulsa, and we eat in the food court that very first day when we get there. And that mall, we would go there all the time. And I remember as a kid looking over the rail and thinking, wow, this is really high, okay? I told some of y'all about it was middle school, about my fear of heights, right? And so I remember looking at that and thinking, this is not good. And so I would have the dream where I was in Woodland Hills Mall, and they had like these planters, like they had the fence, like a rail up, and then they had like below that this little thing that jetted out, and there were plants in it. Why? Nobody knows. It was weird, okay? But I would dream that I would climb over that rail and stand there in the plants, and then I would jump. I have no idea why I dreamed this, but I would jump, and I would wake up when I hit the floor. Huh! You would do one of those. You know that feeling? Huh! You have no control over it. You just, huh! And so, man, I would have that dream all the time. There are some dreams that are recurring that we would probably rather not have, but man, some of those dreams are just so weird. And sometimes you could, like, if you can remember them, the things that happen are so random and so weird. Yeah, you just go, what is going on here? So, in Daniel chapter 4, starting in verse 1, it says, look at this with me. It says, King Nebuchadnezzar, to the nations and peoples of every language who live in all the earth, may you prosper greatly. It is my pleasure to tell you about the miraculous signs and wonders that the Most High God has performed for me. How great are his signs, how mighty his wonders. His kingdom is an eternal kingdom. His dominion endures from generation to generation. All right, so who's talking here? Is this Daniel writing to us? Who's speaking? Nebuchadnezzar, okay? The same guy in chapter 1 that conquers Israel and takes them all into captivity. The same guy who in chapter 2 says, I need somebody to tell me my dream and to interpret it. And who says, oh yeah, your God is the God of gods, is a God of gods. And then in chapter 3, who sees this other person, this other being show up in the fire. And so we see this kind of progression from Nebuchadnezzar, that he sees God doing work in the little thing of Daniel and his friends, like choosing different food. He sees him working at that. And then in chapter 2, he sees that God has this power that nobody else has, as Daniel points back to God when his dream is told to him and interpreted. And then in chapter 3, it goes to a whole nother level, and Nebuchadnezzar sees this other person in the fire with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And so Nebuchadnezzar now is writing to us. And he says, "It is my pleasure," look at verse 2, "to tell you about the miraculous signs and wonders that the Most High God has performed for me. How great are his signs, how mighty his wonders." It's like he has this different tune, like he's seen enough that he feels differently about the God of Israel. Is that fair? I think it's fair, right? That he sees that there are different things happening here. That this is not some statue that got lucky, right? Like this is time and again God shows up in big ways, and it changes the way that Nebuchadnezzar thinks about God. Interesting. So then, look at verse, 4? "I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at home in my palace, contented and prosperous. I had a dream that made me afraid." Dude, same. Woodland Hills Mall, falling off the deal. All right? "As I was lying in bed, the images and visions that passed through my mind terrified me. So I commanded that all the wise men of Babylon be brought before me to interpret the dream for me. When the magicians, enchanters, astrologers, and diviners came, I told them the dream, but they could not interpret it for me. Finally, Daniel came into my presence, and I told him the dream. He is called Belteshazzar, after the name of my God, and the spirit of the holy gods is in him." Okay, so he has this dream, and he calls in all these wise people. Wouldn't it make sense for him to just start with Daniel? Daniel's already done all this, but he goes, "Hey, no, all you guys." And then it gives us insight into why Daniel is named Belteshazzar. Maybe it's named after, he says, "my God," after the name of my God, and the spirit of the holy gods is in him. So interesting that even though he's seen this, he's still kind of trying to play both sides. You know what I mean? He wants to follow God because he's seen awesome things, but he's still got this like allegiance to this other side. Okay. Verse 9, "I said, Belteshazzar, chief of the magicians, I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in you, and no mystery is too difficult for you. Here is my dream. Interpret it for me. These are the visions I saw while lying in bed. I looked, and there before me stood a tree in the middle of the land. Its height was enormous. The tree grew large and strong, and its top touched the sky. It was visible to the ends of the earth. Its leaves were beautiful, its fruit abundant, and on it was food for all. Under it the wild animals found shelter, and the birds lived in its branches. From it every creature was fed. In the visions I saw while lying in bed, I looked, and there before me was a holy one, a messenger coming down from heaven. He called in a loud voice, 'Cut down the tree and trim off its branches, strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the animals flee from under it and the birds from its branches, but let the stump and its roots, bound with iron and bronze, remain in the ground in the grass of the field. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven, and let him live with the animals among the plants of the earth. Let his mind be changed from that of a man, and let him be given the mind of an animal, till 7 times pass by for him. The decision is announced by messengers. The holy ones declare," turn the page, "the verdict, so that the living may know that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth, and gives them to anyone he wishes, and sets over them the lowliest of people. This is the dream that I, King Nebuchadnezzar, had. Now, Belteshazzar, tell me what it means, for none of the wise men in my kingdom can interpret it for me. But you can, because the spirit of the holy gods is in you." All right, so the dream has some major components. What's the major thing in this dream? It's a major object. Tree. Yeah, say it out next time. Just say it. No worries, Chuck, all right? Tree, yes. There's a giant tree. How tall is it?
Enormous.
Yeah, it's enormous. It's huge. It touches the sky. I always think that's weird when people say that, because isn't this the sky? Can I touch the sky? I think he's meaning way up high. In fact, so high that people from the ends of the earth can see it, right? Okay? And so it has all these branches, and what happens under the tree? animals happen. Yeah, animals are under the tree. And people, and they gather, and there's safety under this tree, right? And then this voice comes in, this messenger, and says, hey, do what? Cut it down. Yeah, cut it down. And so the tree's cut down. It scatters all the animals that are there. And then what happens to the person? What happens to Nebuchadnezzar in this dream? He becomes like an animal. Okay, so, maybe you watch Tarzan when you're little, and you see Tarzan being raised by wolves, right? And how all that goes, and he's this crazy wild man. I always thought the music on that was so-so, and then I watched it again with my kids, and I'm like, no, this is it. This is good. But Tarzan has this same kind of like animal mindset, right? And so the king here is going to, or the person in the dream is going to have the mind of an animal. He's going to go crazy. And so this is the dream that the king has. Now, if you have that dream, you dream about a giant tree and then it gets cut down and then you go a little crazy in the head. I don't know if we would think anything of it, but maybe this dream just keeps happening, or maybe it's so clear and vivid to the point where Nebuchadnezzar goes, okay, something is up with this dream. He had that happen in chapter 2 with the other dream he has about the statue. And so maybe that one kept happening, and maybe this one keeps happening to the point, because one time it might not make that big of a deal to us, right? If you have a dream once, you go, okay, this is a dream. But if you have it over and over again, it kind of stands out in your mind, and you go, something's going on here. Okay? So look at verse 19. He calls Daniel in, and it says, Daniel was greatly perplexed for a time, and his thoughts terrified him. Like, Daniel doesn't know what's happening here, but it's kind of freaking him out a little bit. It says, so the king said, Belteshazzar, do not let the dream or its meaning alarm you. And Belteshazzar answered, my lord, if only the dream applied to your enemies and its meaning to your adversaries. The tree you saw, which grew large and strong, with its top touching the sky, visible to the whole earth, with beautiful leaves and abundant fruit, providing food for all, giving shelter to the wild animals, and having nesting places in its branches for the birds. Your majesty, you are that tree. You have become great and strong. Your greatness has grown until it reaches the sky, and your dominion extends to distant parts of the earth. Now, right there, if I am Nebuchadnezzar, and Daniel is telling me this dream, and he says, you are the tree, do you do this, like your brain automatically skips to the end? Yeah. So if this is the case, if this interpretation is true, then he is going to be done. He is going to be done. Okay? Where are we? 23? Your majesty saw a holy one, a messenger coming down from heaven and saying, cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump bound with iron and bronze in the grass of the field while its roots remain in the ground. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven. Let him live with the wild animals until 7 times pass by for him. This is the interpretation, your majesty. And this is the decree the Most High has issued against my lord the king. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox and be drenched with the dew of heaven. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone he wishes. The command to leave the stump of the tree with its roots means that your kingdom will be restored to you when you acknowledge that heaven rules. Heaven rules. Therefore, your majesty, be pleased to accept my advice. Renounce your sins by doing what is right, and your wickedness by being kind to the oppressed. It may be that then your prosperity will continue. So, the dream is that Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom will be cut off, but not destroyed. And that he will be the one who goes out and goes a little crazy. Right? This is not the news that Nebuchadnezzar wants to hear. But if we go back to the beginning and we see that that Nebuchadnezzar actually is saying, hey, yeah, God does these great things, but Belteshazzar, you're named after one of my gods, and so I like what you do. It's still that kind of two sides. And so as Daniel's interpreting the dream, he says, hey, this is not going to work anymore. This isn't going to work. You keep kind of playing around with this idea that God is God, but in reality, God is God. And so when you keep trying to both have God in your corner and an idol in your corner, it doesn't work. Those two don't go together. They can't exist in the same place. You've got to choose one or the other. And so here's what's going to happen. You're going to lose your kingdom for a time. And hopefully during that time you learn what you need to learn. And then if you do, it will be given back to you. It's like he's being put in timeout. I don't mean to simplify it or make it childish, right? But God is going, look, you've seen, but now we got to learn. It's one thing to see what's happening, but it's another thing to actually learn from it. You do this all the time. We have these things that pop up in our life where we see things happen and we go, oh man, I'm glad that's not me, or I'm glad that doesn't happen to me today, but we don't really learn anything from it. You know what I mean? We see other people struggle with something and we go, oh man, yeah, it's bad for them. But then we go around and do just the same thing. And so there's this tension there of, do we see and learn? Like, could he not have seen what God was doing in the first 3 chapters and made that change? Like, was the guy in the fire with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, was that situation not enough to push him over the edge and go, okay, this is what's really happening here? I don't know. So then the dream is fulfilled. Look at verse 28. All this happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. 12 months later, as the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon, he said, is not this the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty? Even as the words were on his lips, a voice came from heaven. This is what is decreed for you, King Nebuchadnezzar. Your royal authority has been taken from you. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone he wishes. Immediately what had been said about Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled. He was driven away from people and ate grass like the ox. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew out like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird. At the end of that time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes toward heaven and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the Most High. I honored and glorified him who lives forever. And then he goes into this deal, which we'll read here in a minute. But in verse 30, he starts talking about, is this not the great Babylon that I have built? Look at how many times he says I, right? Or my. Is this not the great Babylon I have built by my mighty power for the glory of my majesty? He still doesn't see that God is the one who has done all this. And in fact, he has a year to figure this out, right? He has this dream, and it takes a whole year for it to really take hold. And so he has this moment where he's all proud of himself. He's looking out at what he's done. He's like, man, I'm good. Look at this. This is awesome. You see this city? This is me. Look at this. I'm awesome. Amazing. Yeah. And in that moment, he is driven away. He eats grass like the ox. It says his body was drenched with the dew of heaven. That sounds gross, okay? His hair grew like the feathers of an eagle. Some of us are wishing for that these days. It's just getting bigger right here, okay? The feathers of an eagle, and his nails like the claws of a bird. So do you picture this? You've got this guy who's like dirty and sweaty, and his hair is like everywhere, and you know the people that grow out or that do the fake fingernails and and you see that on Instagram, and it's weird. You know what I'm talking about? That was a whole lot of me not finishing words, but you get what I'm saying. Like the nails that are like. And you go, why? That's like having a lobster claw for a hand. Like, it doesn't work. Like, how do I use that? And so he's this insane looking crazy guy. You see a guy with the big hair and the crazy claws, and he's drenched in the dew of heaven, whatever that means, whatever that looks like. And then he's eating grass. Do you get that picture in your head? Okay, good. It is a crazy picture. Because Nebuchadnezzar did not take the opportunity. He had the dream. He had warning. And God said, hey, through Daniel, he said, hey, if you don't do this, if you don't turn it around, here's what's going to happen. And he just keeps looking at things like, man, am I good? I'm so good. Immediately driven out. It says, though, verse 34, at the end of that time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes toward heaven, and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the Most High. I honored and glorified him who lives forever. Listen to what else he says. His dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the peoples of the earth are regarded as nothing. He does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the powers of earth. No one can hold back his hand or say to him, "What have you done?" At the same time that my sanity was restored, my honor and splendor were returned to me for the glory of my kingdom. My advisors and nobles sought me out, and I was restored to my throne and became even greater than before. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and glorify the King of heaven, because everything he does is right and all his ways are just. And those who walk in pride, he is able to humble. 7 years of being a wild man, or 7, it doesn't say years, but it just says, 7 times will pass by. Whatever that is, say it's 7 months. 7 months of being a wild human being who looks like you were raised by wolves, right? Like 7 months of that. And he changes his tune. I praise and exalt and glorify the King of heaven, because everything he does is right. What lesson does Nebuchadnezzar learn? What does he learn in this moment? Not rhetorical. What do you think? What does he learn in this?
That God is above all these gods.
That God is what?
Above all these gods.
Yeah, that God is above all these gods. That I wonder too, Tucker, if he had this moment in the wilderness when it all kind of clicks and he looks and he goes, hey, I did this for 7 weeks, 7 months, 7 years, whatever the case may be, and none of the gods that I used to worship did anything. I wonder if that clicks at some point, right? What else does he learn in this moment? Yeah, Jack, come on.
That God is always right and just.
Yeah.
And that I think he also learns that God is the only God, and there are no other gods.
Yeah, that God is, yes, absolutely. That everything he does, that he's just, that he's the only God, absolutely. You know, I think, oh yeah, Kason, come on.
I think he learns that he kind of deserved it.
Okay, why do you say that?
Well, one, he was pretty prideful in the last sentence of that says, those who walk in pride, he's able to humble.
Yeah.
And then right before it, he says, everything he does is right and all of it is just. Stuff include his punishment.
Yeah. Maybe he looked at it like, I needed this. Ay caramba. I mean, how many times have you said that when you've been punished by your parents? Most of the time we jump to, I didn't deserve this. Are they out of their minds? I'm amazing. No, maybe you don't say that. A lot of times we don't jump to that, but I wonder if after this, he does the same thing. He goes, man, I needed this time. I don't think we very often look at difficulties and hard times as good, and we never look at those as good when we're in the moment. And we would be right. When you're going through difficult things, it is not good. It is not fun. It is not easy. But good things can come from bad situations. And I think that's one of the things that makes our God so amazing and so incredible, is that he can take those moments when things are the worst and he can turn them into things where he is glorified and things are amazing. Like, God is the one that can do that. He's the one that can move things in that direction. So, a couple of things real quick and then we'll be done. Do we forget where our blessings come from? Do we have that trouble of remembering that God is the one that provides? I know it's really easy for me to go, man, but I did this and I did that and I made this happen, and yet it's really God. Or do we fail to give God the glory and the credit for the good things that he does? Nebuchadnezzar really had like a twisted view of who God was. And so for us, do we see God as just an option, or do we see God as everything? Because I think when Nebuchadnezzar is the wild wolf man, can I just call him that? I think that's fair. When Nebuchadnezzar is the wild wolf man, then he sees a different side of things. He sees God in a different light. And he learns through those situations. We didn't sing it today, but maybe we learn this lesson as well. Humble yourself before the Lord, and he will lift you up. I hope and I pray that you will not forget how great God is. And I hope that we can learn from the wisdom of other people, right? Here's Nebuchadnezzar, so full of himself, and yet he has to learn the really hard lesson that it's really not him that's doing all this, that it's God. And so my hope and my prayer for us is that we will be people who learn from our mistakes, who learn in the difficulties, who are able to look back and go, you know what, I wasn't where I needed to be. And through that trouble, through that hardship, I was able to move further on. I don't expect any of us to look at difficult situations in the moment and think that, because none of us will. Nebuchadnezzar, while he's in the middle of that, while he's the crazy wolf man, he is not thinking that. But can we use those things in order to move ourselves forward? Can we use what's happened over the last year and a half and use that to help move us forward in our faith? I think it would be really easy to just let it go. Will we use what's happened in order to push forward in our faith? Nebuchadnezzar's not perfect. And the story's going to shift here next week to a different part of the story. But we can learn something from this king who thought he was the stuff and ended up being shown that God is God and not himself. I want to pray with you, and then we'll be done this morning. So if you will, bow with me, and let's pray. God, we are thankful for this story. Thank you for Scripture that helps lead us and guide us. God, so often in my life, I feel like I'm the one that's doing things, that I'm the one that's moving forward, or that I'm the one that's making things happen. But God, I know that it's really you that's doing that. And I pray that you'll help all of us to have enough humility in our life to be able to see that you are the one at work. God, I thank you for what happens at the end of this story. That through difficulty and hardship, that through this difficult lesson, Nebuchadnezzar learns something and moves on. God, I don't know why things happen the way that they do. I'm going to leave that up to you. But God, what I do know is that through difficulties, you can help us learn and grow and be your people. And so I pray that you'll help us to do that. Give us the humility that we need. Help us to learn the difficult lessons. Help us to learn those lessons without having to go through the difficulties. Help us to be wise and to be able to see how we can deal with different situations based on what other people have done and the things that they've been through. Help us not to pay for our own wisdom, but to let other people share that with us. Help us not to be so arrogant to think that we have all the answers, but instead to listen to others who have gone before us. We thank you for Nebuchadnezzar and for the turn that he makes in his life and for the change that he makes in his life. And so, God, as we've dealt with a really difficult 15 months, I just pray that you'll help us to use that in order to push ahead in our faith. That we'll be people who at the end of this have grown because of the things that we've experienced and endured. Please help us to realize your greatness and your power. We thank you for your power that has overcome sin and death, and we thank you for Jesus who's done that. We pray this in his name, and everybody says, amen. All right.